Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
All right, good morning and welcome to the show. It's Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. We're reaching you live from Osogbo, the Osun State capital, on StarTimes channel 190, the DTT platform, and of course you can follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook at Western Spring Television. You can follow us on Twitter at WSTV_NG. You can also follow me on Twitter at EMUJADIGILI, and of course you can check out our YouTube channel on Western Spring Television, and do also subscribe to our channel there when you find us there. You know what we do for you on the program: we bring you insight, analysis, engaging interview segment, and of course what's trending, where we bring you who is trending, what is trending, why they're trending, and what people are saying about the who, the what, and the why. Well, of course, I'm not alone in the studio this morning. I'm with the ever beautiful, ever radiant damsel, who would introduce herself shortly.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel. Good morning, viewers. Thanks for joining us on the show today. I am Temitope Adejola Oluwaola.
Well, we'll go straight to what we have for you today. We'll begin with the newspaper, but that will be after this short break. Do stay with us.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
According to the words of Michael Forbes, one who never asks questions either knows everything or nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefila, and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Gbadamosi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkele was a natively corrupted version of Peculiar Mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. The name Adolf Hitler exudes a gale of bile from millions of people who were victims of his autocratic rule and love, from fanatical supporters of his imperial aggression. Born April 20, 1889, at a small Austrian town sandwiched between Austro-German frontier, Adolf Hitler spent most of his childhood in Linz, the capital of Upper Austria. As a very prominent stakeholder in the horrific events of conflicts in Europe, Adolf Hitler could simply go off as the sole mover of the Second World War. 40 million Jews were murdered in the gas chambers of various Nazi camps on the orders of Adolf Hitler. Thousands of Adolf Hitlers still live in Germany today, but the majority of them are elderly and were named before the end of the Second World War. As the name pales into vanishing rarity, 13 children, according to official records, were named Adolf Hitler between 2006 and 2013. Western Spring Television identifies Adolf Hitler as a major character in history. Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back, viewers. Thanks for staying with us. Now we'll move into the newspaper review, and we'll start with the Punch newspapers. The banner headline says, budget deficit rises 370%, hits 47 trillion naira under Buhari. President to pass on $15.62 billion Eurobond repayments to next government. Now, I find this very worrisome, and the huge debts to be inherited by an incoming government that hasn't even found its footing. Manuel.
Well, I think that it's a Nigerian thing. The other day we heard that about 28 governors are leaving debts for their successors.
Yes.
And so it's quite interesting, very worrying actually, that debts upon debts are being accrued. Budget deficit rises 370% is really worrisome.
It is quite worrisome.
It's 47 trillion naira under Buhari. Seems like President Buhari has left a very terrible mark on the Nigerian economy when it comes to borrowing and deficit. His administration seems to have had the worst ever figures. But we hope that someday some people do not come to take us all captive and say you owe our country money.
Yes,
and then you'll be working for us
you.
on plantations. It'd be interesting to see where they'll take Temitope to, maybe somewhere in the Bahamas to work on cocoa plantations. I would love to see that.
And you as well.
No, I will be part of this, the internal committees. Yeah.
All right, now above the nameplate we have ballot paper. Local printers set to sue INEC. Now the commission extends PVC's collection till January 29.
That's about a week, 7 days. It was supposed to elapse on the 22nd of January, but they added 7 days. I think it's quite commendable.
It is.
By INEC. You don't want to disenfranchise a lot of persons who still haven't collected their PVCs.
But then, do we not also have an issue? Because when you have people, sluggish about getting their cards or not even ready to pick up their cards, probably because they don't want to vote, probably they've lost faith in the system and all of that. Those are factors as well that could have, delayed the collection of this number of PVCs.
Well, it's the Nigerian attitude to everything, the fire brigade attitude. I remember very well the BVN too, the issue of the BVN. It took threats from the CBN for people to rush to the bank to do their BVN registration. The same thing with NIN. It took threats by the telecommunications operators for people to get to NIMC headquarters to do their registrations. Yeah. So it's commendable that INEC is extended, but people must maximize this to get their PVCs.
Exactly. Now, but just beside it, we have FG woos punish investors for 7 oil blocks. And just below it, 648 cases brought against President FG, says the Attorney General of the Federation.
I'm not surprised. The federal government is quite notorious for being in court with too many persons dragging the federal government to court. And there was a time they gave out the figure of the judgment debt. The judgment debt is the amount owed by a particular government as consequences of court judgments. When the court awards damages against the government, you have to pay. So judgment debt was running into billions of naira. And then you wonder, we have normal debts to pay. In
the first place, why should we have about 648 cases brought against the president and the federal government?
Because we live in a country where court orders are hardly obeyed, especially by the government. The court says, release this person. The federal government goes to court almost immediately to seek an injunction, a stay of execution, and then the other person goes to court, and so the federal government's always in the court. Yes, back and forth, a lot of back and forth there.
All right, just below the banner headline, be guided by diplomatic practice, FG urges envoys. This is more like a parent telling his child, telling his or her child not to, to be good, the Yoruba thing, remember the child of whom you are, the way we say it like that. So that's what I see here, about, the being guided by diplomatic practice.
It's very important that the federal government gives that warning, because over time, some of the superpowers, some of the so-called superpowers have been known to interfere in the democratic systems, of other countries, And so it's important to warn them and say that you are in Nigeria, You can't do anyhow. There's a diplomatic code that you must follow, and you must follow that code to the letter. So it's important that that warning is issued. So, albeit an admonition, not really a warning. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Now, gunmen kill 4 Anambra vigilantes, bomb 5 buildings. This is still a recurring case of insecurity, and it's still very much with us. And we keep telling the federal government to please do the needful. My wife unconscious for 3 days after sextuplets birth. That says the husband. That's very interesting news, and also, you know, it's sort of like mixed. You know, you have sextuplets born. You have
the mother unconscious.
Yes, and the mother is unconscious. So you have this, you know, mixed feelings. But thank God she's alive but unconscious, and we hope that she regains consciousness soon enough. EFCC shortlists 26 bidders for forfeited assets. EFCC shortlists 26 bidders for forfeited assets. Now I begin to wonder why we have to, you know, bid for this forfeited assets rather. We have to bid. I believe that these are some of the ways where we can get back some of our resources, not just, bidding for it and all that.
Yes, and someone rightly made a point that some of these properties can be used to cut down on governance cost.
Yeah.
Instead of building new quarters, instead of buying new cars for government officials, why not what's it called now? Why not repurpose some of these forfeited assets into government quarters? Why not repurpose them into official residences? So that way you don't waste money, for last year, about 649 vehicles were auctioned, about some number of vessels too. But it would have been nice if those things have been repurposed.
Yeah.
Because there's also the probability and possibility of racketeering in when it comes to some of these bidding things. They sell cheaper to their family members and to their friends, and some of those who have forfeited the assets can also come back to buy if they're able to afford it. So that's that about the EFCC. We hope that they are able to sanitize the system and make it proper going forward.
Yes. Now that will be all on the Punch newspapers.
All right, from the Punch, we move on to the Nation newspaper this morning. The banner headline says millions of uncollected PVCs force INEC to shift deadline. And the rider that says 13.87 million cards printed for valid registrant. Agency probes alleged extortion. That issue of extortion is actually worrisome because some persons have said that when they go to collect their PVC, some of the INEC officials say, drop something for the boys, Alaye bring something, and all of that.
And then the INEC itself has also been, alleged to be, giving out PVCs to some, selected people. And all these allegations have been brought against the INEC, although the INEC said they'll be looking into it. And so let's see in the coming days what comes of that.
And those are some of the conversations we'll be having on the interview segment today. We'll be looking at some of these issues that INEC mentioned yesterday while extending the collection of the PVCs. And below that story, Senate urges federal government to stop borrowings. Quite an interesting story because unfortunately, interestingly, it is the Senate that approves the loans.
Yes.
So they should start by not approving some of those borrowings in the first place instead of just urging the federal government.
I think what you're doing is just to create an awareness that in case they stop approving, this is the reason, because they've advised the federal government accordingly. And so the federal government should also look into that.
But would they stop approving? Would they stop approving? Can they stop approving?
Exactly. Can they? We don't know.
Well, they can, but would they? The will is the problem. They can.
They might stop approving.
No, that's semantics now. Can, will, do, might, and all of those things. Well, NLC, DUC, and others endorse Tinubu. Sanwo-Olu, I find that very worrisome.
Oh, why?
Because these are trade unions that should be non-partisan.
Exactly.
That should be looking for the interest of workers. That should not hobnob politicians so that they don't get put into the pockets of these politicians that they are supporting, which is actually a very huge concern for many of us who are watchers and analysts we expect that the TUC and the NLC will be at the forefront of advising Nigerians to vote wisely.
You know,
some of these things are for selfish reasons.
Yes, you know, some days ago we had an issue with the statement Ekiti people are indebted to
Yes.
Tinubu.
Yes.
And so it might be just some leaders of this union who are just, you know, putting their people in a bottle and trying to make them be subject to a particular set of, you know, those people.
Yes.
So
we must also say that we must stress that it's the Lagos chapters of the NLC and TUC that are endorsing. So we won't be surprised if the Delta State or Anambra State chapter endorses someone else.
So the point is, this is the season of endorsements. It might not really translate to votes. So it might just be a few number of them who are actually endorsing, but you know, they'll carry the whole body along. We still have that issue.
Well, below the newspaper at the bottom strip, why I won't campaign for Obi by Obasanjo. Remember that Obasanjo's endorsement of Obi cost quite the ripple.
Yes.
The APC and PDP were frothing at the mouth,
Exactly.
you know, to counter that. But I understand why he may not be able to campaign. You know, there's the age factor, there's the role of the elder statesman that he may want to
I
play.
think there's a difference between endorsement and, you know, canvassing for votes for somebody.
That's exactly why people say endorsement may not translate to vote, because I can say, okay, just vote for this person. I support his ideas and all, but personally, I may not join him on his campaign trail. The same way Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State told Obi that I wholeheartedly align with your position. If I were not in the PDP, I would join you on your campaign trail, but unfortunately, I'm in the PDP. But I support your ambition. So they are two very different issues there.
Things, yes.
Well, gunmen demand 10 million naira ransom on Osun farmers. Very funny. If you had said Osun businessmen, maybe, but farmers 10 million naira.
That's you know, destructive. You know, if you ask me, 10 million naira, taking it out of the farms is huge.
Where would they get it from? Farmers, except they are mechanized farmers on a very large scale. I don't see them, and these ones they are probably just farmers picked by abductors, you know, on their farms. And on page 7 of the Nation newspaper, above the nameplate this morning, rejection of new naira notes a crime, CBN warns. The rejection of new naira notes a crime, CBN warns. We've seen people share their experience. I was on the street about 2 days ago to speak to residents, and some of them said that they spent the money, but they had to do extra convincing for the traders to get the money. And you wouldn't blame them. People are always averse to new things.
Exactly.
Because this is Nigeria.
Yeah.
It will take quite some adjustments, some adjustments. And
Especially
then the notes can be confusing, you know. The 500 naira looks like 200, 1,000 naira looks like 50 naira, you know. So, but eventually it will take some
time to get used to it.
Yeah. Where were we again? Okay, so the next story there,
above the nameplate.
Troops killed 50 terrorists in 3 weeks, says DHQ. That's on page 27. Very interesting news. We must commend the defense headquarters and our troops, our gallant troops, for the job they've been doing, decimating terrorists, especially in the Northeast theater of operations. Very good work they've been doing there. You find that story on page 27. Government woos Spain to invest in gas security on page 7. A policeman killed in security agents, kidnappers gun duel on page. There's no page number there, but below the nameplate, AGF, 6.32 million pounds, 5.5 million euros, $390 million looted funds recovered in 7 years. I have just one question. Where is the money?
Yeah. It says that, you know, they've invested in some social investment programs.
Oh, what? Like the school feeding,
and the construction of the Niger Bridge.
We just hear huge
amounts recovered, and we don't know where they are right now or what they're being, you know, kept for.
Well, under that story, Akeredolu threatens to banish our cocoa monarchs. We did say some days ago when we were talking about the Kogi issue, but governors have begun to really denigrate the traditional stools. They've begun to treat them with contempt and disdain, and that's not very good for the traditional institution.
Not good at all. That's not good. Ever since governors have to install monarchs or dethrone them, it has been one issue or the other, and has been this, part tussle. There's been this part tussle between, the conventional leadership and this.
Well, funnily, if the local government system were working perfectly, the local government chairman has authority over the monarch. That's how it used to be. That's how it should be. But because of the issues surrounding local government autonomy, some of these things have been shifted to the state government. Well, killings, arson in Anambra, Imo. That's on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have for you on the Nation this morning.
Now, quickly moving on to the Guardian. Before we're just going to run through the Guardian. Banks defy CBN, continue issuing old Naira notes. Now, the writers say new banknotes still scanty. Only 1 out of 9 banks in Boko issuing new notes. In Benue, new notes treated as souvenirs. Kano customers tackle cashiers over mutilated notes. Long queues at ATMs paying new Naira. Apex Bank kicks off sensitization program. Now, I find that you found it funny that banknotes have been treated as souvenirs, Emmanuel.
Well, very funny. Because of the novelty of the idea, it's always a first possess, first enjoy kind of syndrome. Same thing happened during the COVID-19 era. The first set of people to use nose masks felt like they had arrived and they were billionaires. Okay. Especially those customized ones that had the face shield. Yes. Yeah. The people who used the face shield first felt like they had arrived. So it was very interesting for them. But more worrisome is the fact that new banknotes are still scanty. Again, I was on the street about 2-3 days ago, went to some banks, spoke to some bank officials off record, and they told us honestly that they didn't have the new Naira notes in stock that much. For the ATMs, they were dispensing the 1,000 Naira notes, but they didn't have the 200 Naira notes. I remember that part of the guidelines, part of the policy of the CBN was that 200 Naira notes would be the highest denomination in the ATM. So if you don't have that in circulation now, we just today 13th, about 18 days to the deadline of phasing out the old currencies, then there's a very big problem.
It is. But we hope that the CBN and the banks can interface well enough and solve this issue. All right, above the headline, we have, you've lost Igbo support over comments. SCRG tells Tinubu. A comment again, Tinubu making comments and, some promises and all that. Now, INEC extends PVC's collection. So you can get more of that on page 3 of the newspaper. INEC extends PVC's collection deadline till January 29. More of that news is on page 7. And we're still going to be talking about it in our interview session today. Sanwo-Olu promises better tomorrow if re-elected. Better tomorrow. Have we had enough of a better today? I think that would be my question to Sanwo-Olu.
Well, politicians and their gimmicks, always making promises and saying sweet things to sway voters. The today is not even bright, and the Yoruba say that a Saturday, I think a Sunday that will be interesting, from Saturday or something like that. Yeah. So if tomorrow will be promising, we'll know from today. And today so far has been full of police brutality, full of economic recession, full of the middle class dropping into the lower class, and now we have just the haves and have-nots. It's been full of so many ups and downs, so many trials and tribulations, and it does not portend well for a better tomorrow.
It doesn't at all. All right, moving quickly to the next one, we have gunmen kill 4 vigilantes, raise buildings in Anambra bomb attack. More of that news is on page 8. We're still having a lot of this insecurity issues. Ajaokuta steel plants like refineries. A story retold, promises unkept. That's a big story. These are steel plants and our refineries. Read the big story on pages 4 and 5. Now, the bottom strip of the paper says, I never want a third-term presidency, says Obasanjo.
Very interesting one there, considering that was one of the biggest scandals ever attached to a presidency. Hearing him say that he was going to seek a third term in office, it was the most ridiculous thing. It was the most anti-democratic thing ever. to be done in a democratic era by any sitting politician.
Yes.
I mean, you don't bend the law because it suits you, it favors you, and kudos to those who stood up to him, because indeed, if he had a very
got
firm
his
grip,
way, we might have
it would have happened. You just hear of some constitutional amendment and all of that. So we thank those who were there at that time. Party, and I think that's one of the reasons he doesn't see eye to eye with Atiku Abubakar, because as it is reported, Atiku was one of those who stood against the third term bid of
Although
President
Obasanjo is known to say that some people wanted him to run for third term and not himself, but we still don't know who those people are.
You know, there's in social and behavioral change communication, there is a passive and active encouragement and discouragement.
Exactly.
If someone says something on your behalf and you do not come out to correct it, your silence is consent.
Yes.
But if you come out to actively and then by your inactions passively now discourage it, people will believe you. But he never for once said, I'm not the one pushing it all. No, you know, so something like that. But that story is on page 6 of The Guardian.
Yes, page 6.
All right, that's all on The Guardian newspaper. Can we move over to the Daily Trust newspaper? One thing that is very, very peculiar about the Daily Trust is that it reminds us of those who are still in captivity. We have the schoolgirls of FGC Benin-Yari who have spent over 540 days now in captivity, and then we have that one Bethel Baptist High School of Kujama, Kaduna, still in captivity. On the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Well, quite a number of papers reporting something that has to do with the extension of the deadline by INEC, which is what we'll be discussing on the show this morning. Well, I think that's all we have for you on the newspaper review segment this morning. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be bringing you our guests. We'll be discussing yesterday's event where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended by 1 week the collection of the permanent voters' cards, PVCs, by eligible voters for next month's election. We'll be bringing on live on the show via phone call the convener, via Zoom, the convener of Situation Room Nigeria, one of the biggest NGOs that's monitoring democratic growth in the country. Miss Anna Obi should be joining us live on Zoom after this break. Just stay with us.
The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, Nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible
All right, thank you very much for keeping faith with us on Western Spring Television. Of course, the program is still Morning Spring, where we bring it to you as it is. We tell you what is happening around you and help you make sense of some socio-political and socio-economic happenings around you as a person or a Nigerian living in the country, Nigeria. This morning on the show, we're looking at something that happened yesterday after its meeting, its regular meeting held yesterday. The Independent National Electoral Commission deliberated on a number of issues, including the ongoing collection of permanent voters' cards, and decided that they were going to extend that by 1 week. It was supposed to end on Sunday, the 22nd January 2023, but it has now been extended until Sunday, 29th January 2023. And to help us make sense of this issue and give us our perspective, we will now be joined live via Zoom by convener of Situation Room Nigeria, one of the NGOs in the country, non-governmental organizations that is in charge of monitoring democratic processes and, of course, seeing to smooth and free, fair electoral processes. We're joined live on the line by Miss NLB. Good morning, Miss Obi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How is Abuja this morning?
Abuja is cool, it's lovely, with the Hamatan breeze, so it's quiet and kind.
Well, we're hoping that our viewers will be able to see your afro, and of course, you're giving us quite a treat with your hair this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get down to business. How did you receive yesterday's announcement by INEC?
Sorry, I think I lost the audio a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. I was asking, how did you receive yesterday's announcement by INEC?
The announcement is quite welcome. I've been trying to call for that, and so we're happy that they are sensing what's going on online, and especially when you are talking of the world level, this is one of the things that we've been talking about. At the world level, it's closer to the people. It's not as close as we would have loved. It's not as close because the polling unit, some people there's still a bit of a distance from the world level to, from so many distances, but at least that is closer to the people. And I remember the experience we had in Oshun, when the REC in Oshun was going to close down when they took off, when they went to the world level, they said the presence of people who were collecting PVCs was overwhelming before the elections. And we had a meeting with the REC. We appealed to the REC to end the days, and they did.
Oh well, we seem to be having some
PVCs.
Okay.
Because we have about 12 million. This time is about 12 million is not just in collection, but also, you know, it's not just in you have 1 million voters to collect. So people with beautiful feelings. So we're making so that as many people to collect, people with various can collect. But we ask Nigerians not to relax, you know, and say, okay, it has been extended, because we've had that before during the continuous voter registration. You know, where people relax and thought, I will wait, the time will come. Go today and collect your PVCs. We also encourage INEC to increase the number of people, the number of ad hoc staff. We have a number, you know, volunteers who will be willing to join. So let's bring more people and let them have, you know, the kind of alphabetical orders, easy, locative, you know, strategy that can help people, so that reduces the number of people online, you know, queuing from morning to night and not getting their PVCs. And those who got their PVCs, very excited that they now finally have the PVCs. So I think it's a welcoming news indeed.
All right, so far, have the number of people collecting their PVCs been encouraging enough to warrant this deadline, the shift in the deadline?
Indeed, I think even INEC stated the fact that they were really excited. If you go to the field, if you look at the number of people who are turning out, it's quite exciting. And this is based on the kind of trust that people are beginning to have in the system, especially with the 2022, you know, Electoral Act. So it's exciting. They feel if your vote will count, and the power has actually gone to the people with beavers. You know, and with the backup of the law, if you don't have the PVC, you're not going to vote. You have the power in your hand when you are going to vote, and we hope that people will vote according to their conscience, you know, and not because somebody is buying your votes. And it's a pity that Nigerians are degrading themselves, and the politicians are degrading themselves to think that the lives of Nigerians is worth their votes. From the newspaper review you were just having now, you're looking at children who are still under captivity. You are looking at number of people who have been killed between yesterday and today. A lot of Nigerians are losing their lives because we don't have respect for the value of life. The value of life of one person seems not to be worth something, and that is something that should disturb us. So I think people should realize, as they are collecting the PVCs, to realize the power that they have with their votes.
Before we come to some of the issues surrounding the PVC collection now, Ms. Obi, I'd like you to look at the build-up to the election as actually being marred by violent incidences. At the meeting last year, the NSA, Babagana Mongono, said that about 52 or thereabout attacks have been recorded on the facilities of INEC. What does this portend for this year's election and the ability of INEC to conduct that election standing on both feet?
I think we need to, and that is why INEC is calling on the security agencies, you know, because, but we are calling on Nigerians. We have civic responsibilities. Why are you destroying, you know, the facilities of INEC? As a citizen, you have a huge responsibility, not only to participate in the process, but also to protect the process. So who is using? I do believe that people don't just get up and go and burn things. There is an organizing, a crime being committed somewhere. And these people should be brought to book. But to Nigerians, we are speaking to them, and we are calling on, you know, on especially the young people to change the narratives about their lives. They are being used. You find out that the thuggery and so many things that they think committed, that these are not children of big people. These are children of the poor who are being, you know, who are victims already of the looting of the treasury, of the mismanagement of this country. They are the same children that are still being used. Because when you are going on protests about politicians and so on and so forth, the children are not in the crowd because they protect their families. And as long as you don't protect the many children of the poor. Your children are not safe. And we need to take this responsibility very seriously. So for politicians, who are some of the major problems, if you talk to the police, they will tell you that politicians are the problem. A number of them are the problem. We still have some good politicians, but they're very few. And the majority who are causing the disorder, and the kind of using our young people instead of looking at their integrity for the beauty and the future of Nigeria. They're using our children. And so it's unfortunate that the attacks are going on. We are calling on those who are being used to stop, because no politician will go carry something and go and commit arson, or carry gun and start shooting people because they know they will be vindicated. You see some of the killings that are going on. Those whom they have arrested and they confess to the killing, people never get to see the person behind that. And this is what you need to stop.
Does that bother you that we never get to see the people behind those killings? Does that bother you? Ms. Obi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I was asking that, does it bother you that we only apprehend the direct perpetrators and not the instigators?
I think it's frightening that is happening. Very unfortunate, because every crime, you have things that are surrounding crime. You have the person who is in the front, you have those at the back, and everybody should be brought to book. But many times in Nigeria, when you hear of what is going on, once they are arrested, because I will cite an example of the person who killed, of those people who went to burn down the home of the PDP women leader. That's Salome. Yeah. Salome Abu of blessed memory. It was a big crowd that went to her house, surrounded their house, her house, set it ablaze. In the open glare, few people were arrested. They were sent, or whatever motivated them. No other person, nothing is being heard about those who are behind the crime. And that is happening in so many cases. There are some people arrested. A lady has been arrested at the Southeast. We are told that she mentioned so many people, and these people will never have the name. If we are serious, if we have the political will to stop crime in this country, these are the materials that you have to be able to build your security system. And so we are worried that the security system is not tidy enough, is not clean enough, it has very little integrity. The police is working, but when they get, the confusion of some of the people that we have, monitored, is that you arrest people and then there's a big boss somewhere that will set, people to release you. And so you are back to square one. And you have some people who are on duty, like those who are, the officers who are so solid, they do a solid investigation. You have the perpetrators and they are not arrested.
All right, Ma, back to the PVC collection. We have the commission saying that it is investigating allegations of extortion by officials at some of these collection centers. What are your thoughts on this?
We have had those accusations, and we made a report as well from the different locations. What we encourage the public to do is to make sure that they are able to raise the flag. Because if we don't know, many of us are not in the field. INEC may be in the people who are supposed to represent INEC are those staff that are giving out the PVC collection. And so who monitors the monitor? They are human beings as well. So and that is where the role of the citizen, is. Are you standing upright for Nigeria? Do you have integrity to man the podium where you are? The INEC chairman cannot come and man the PVC collection, booth. But someone is there, and so Nigerians are the monitor, and that's why the citizen role very, very important. Many people have given me calls from different places and at different states where we have members of the civil society situation room. With almost about 90 organizations that are monitoring, from across the country. I think INEC should take this seriously. Since they have extended this PVC collection for a week, they should have a situation room. They should, because it's as important as the election itself. They should have a situation room with hotlines that people can reach and tell them the location of what is happening exactly, in which local government, in which ward, so that the collection can be seamless. You know, we have gotten the issue of the corruption, you know, accusations against some of the INEC staff. But there are some people who are also doing wonderful work in some of the locations, and we need to appreciate that. But let's report to INEC whatever is going on, and I call on INEC, you know, to open up a situation room to monitor, you know, the PVC collection. It's also, you know, belief and the trust that citizens are gaining. That's why they are there to collect the PVC. They are excited about the change in the law and they want to be part of the process. And so let's create the history together. But what needs to be done? And I say congratulations to the Nigerians who have collected their PVCs and those who are on the queue, who suffer, you know, who go through the stress to collect it. But I can tell you, your future is worth it, and you should go ahead and collect the PVCs so that you are part of this history.
All right. So, Ms. Obi, you convene the situation room, and so of course you must have knowledge of the fact that there have been reports of some attempts to disenfranchise some persons in some part of the country. In fact, at the tail end of last year, there were some videos of PVCs being found buried in gutters, in sewage septic tanks, and all of that. Now, the commission is saying that it is disturbed by allegations of discriminatory issuance of PVCs in some locations. Do you think that we have not gotten to that point in electoral maturity where we do not seek to sabotage the system? What are your thoughts on that?
I think you see the sabotage already. You know, but again, the responsibility of all of this comes back to we, the citizens. If you find something in a particular location, why not send the report? You know, if you go to the website of INEC, it gives a lot of numbers and so on. You also have INEC in the different states, you know, and the local governments, you know, across board. And so what we are saying is, if you see an issue, you, as Nigerians, we are the guardians of democracy. As Nigerians, we are the ones who can protect the democracy that we have and deepen the understanding of democratic ideas. Unfortunately, we are not having civic education as we used to have in the past, but we are the ones guiding. So if you send that report, or the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, if you send the report, if we're able to get the report, we immediately amplify. We send it to INEC and we send the location. And we have seen that have been responding. So if you find a batch of PVCs like that, there must be a connection from somewhere where you find it, you know, a mass somewhere. In the videos that you saw, we also had a video of somebody who is marching from one place to the other and giving people money and collecting their PVCs in a massive field. A Nigerian politician moving from one place to the other, and of course it won't be the politician, it will be an agent. What will be your intention of collecting people's PVCs because they are not useful to you? Or is it intentional to collect the PVCs from those who are from, you know, a location you feel you will not get votes so that they don't vote? You know, all of these things will come after you. Whatever sin that you sow, a seed you sow will come after you. So those who are fronting those things should know that it's not just the law, it's a natural law that will haunt them later and it will come to them. They will pay for it because what you are doing about the PVCs, those who are coming in, if you choose the wrong people, they come to kill Nigerians. Many lives will be lost because of the decisions of someone who is not qualified, someone who doesn't think about people, and someone, you know, because you become a killer. When you don't have facilities that will address issues to save people, people will lose their lives, and that become a killer, and you are part of those killing, and the blood of those people will be on your hands. So we need to take it seriously, but we need to amplify anything we see. I saw a particular video that I was very concerned about, but we did not have the location. They did not mention exactly where that location is, so we cannot deal with it. And you know, we are having this election in the context of where you have about 133 Nigerians below the poverty line, according to the Bureau of Statistics. And that is as at February. You know, that was a research that was done between February 2021 and February 2022, meaning that, you know, the flood that wrecked about 31 states of Nigeria must have pushed more people into the below the poverty line. And so when people don't have, you know, people are looking for survival and you bring them little money, they are willing to do certain things. But we want to let the Nigerians know that your future is greater and that these people who are taking things from you and giving you money, they are not worth it at all. They are not people of integrity. They are killers and they are robbing you of your future and the future of generations to come.
All right. Do you not see these allegations of discriminatory issuance of PVCs in some locations as ultimately influencing the result at the polls?
Again, this is something that we need the reports. If we have the reports, INEC will get the reports. We need to escalate it. If you think Nigerians are taking it upon themselves, some of them will call me and say, in this particular ward, this is what is going on. What can you do about it? All we need to do is pick up our phone and send messages to INEC. And we monitor that process to see that whatever is going on there is corrected. If INEC is not listening, I can tell you we escalate. We go with them, we protest. We can protest against them if they are not, moving to the next level. But if you are not getting the reports and people are saying, oh, in this PVC, but people have been wonderful. I can tell you during the registration, in the continuous voter registration, many people escalated it. Some people took videos and they took video of the location. They said the location and we follow up. And Inspector General of Police also, when they get report of criminalities in a particular environment against that, because INEC is a whole pack between INEC, the security agencies, and that's why you had the INEC chairman coming out and letting them know, letting people in the security agencies know that if you don't mind certain places, then election may not be conclusive in some locations, which was loud last week. But if they stand on their guard, because it's not only the police is the lead agency, but we have the country covered with the police, with the civil defense, we have the army, the air force, and so on. All of the forces that matter that will take us, to the next level. The Navy as well grounded in several places.
So let's come back to the commission now. A lot has been said about INEC's preparedness for next month's elections. In fact, the chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has raised concerns, that some politicians have been trying to pressure the commission into compromising next month. Now, let's see, what are your thoughts about INEC's ability to conduct a free, fair, and credible poll next month?
I do believe that INEC has the capacity. I do believe that the commission has the capacity to conduct free, fair, and credible election for the coming, which is a matter of 42 days or thereabout, to the election. They have the capacity. They should be allowed to do their jobs. The pressure of politicians, they come up with several things. The stake is getting higher. Because gone are the days when you snatch ballot box and then you go and stuff it and take it to the polling station, the polling unit. There is no more. If you snatch a ballot box now, it's of no use to you because the result will be recorded and it will be uploaded at the polling unit. And so, a lot of stake, a lot of work is being done, a lot of strategy. The politicians are strategizing on what next. If you are not able to win, what other things, methodologies can you, bring on board? And so we can understand the concerns, the desperacy of the politicians. But if you are not chosen willingly, of what use are you to Nigerians? Is it a do or die thing? We have about 200 million Nigerians. They need to make a choice. Bring yourself out and tell us who you are, and let's see who you are. And I think, Nigerians should open their eyes, because there's a lot of corruption in the air. There are a lot of people who have prepared to offer people money, for the elections. If you see them offering money, they are coming to take, money from you that will be generations. In our generation, as a younger Nigerian, the public universities were the best in the country. In fact, they were the only ones in the country. But now you have a multitude of private universities, and many cannot afford it. So the departure between, the haves and the have-nots, the inequality gap is getting wider and wider. And so you can imagine those who are offering money today. In another 20 years, will the children of the poor be able to go to any university in Nigeria? And so we must protect the future.
All right. Do you think that the Beavers has somehow been able to influence the face of elections in Nigeria?
Well, the Beavers is being tested for the very first time in a general election. And, the last election, you have the issue of the card readers, and a lot of people went into to challenge that because they feel there is no law backing it. Now we have the law that is backing. Now from card reader to the Beavers, there is a whole transformation that has happened, and with the law coming on board, and we're really excited that President Muhammadu Buhari was able to sign that, being into law. And so we're excited to test it. In the all-cycle election, we were all together in Osogbo with your team, and you saw what happened there. You saw the power of the Beavers that we came up from Ekiti. Osun was an improvement on Ekiti, and we hope that the general election, is something that everybody will take it as a responsibility for us to be able to prove. And, citizens are being watched. We are watching citizens from all over. You can make history from your own location if you stand up right for Nigeria. If you educate your communities, the media is doing a whole lot. And what you are doing is creating that, environment for Nigerians to have more information on what is coming on board. We should make a difference. A beautiful story from a particular unit will change the course of events. And so we hope that Nigerians will be willing to defend their democracy and stand up.
Well, Mr. Obi, the INEC, the commission now says it has printed 13,868,441 PVCs for all new valid registrants, as well as applicants for transfer or replacement of cards. Now, the scale of youth participation in this year's electoral process in terms of registration and collection of PVCs is high compared to other years. Is this a sign of a youth confidence in the electoral process and system?
I think it's a sign of confidence, it's a sign of trust, and I think several things happen. We can look at when we had the two political parties, were the major political parties, people were looking at it. We had a not too young to run, campaign that went on, and then a bill emerged. So a lot of young people were mobilized towards you can run, you can vote, but you can also run. So there's a lot which I'm the country director of ActionAid Nigeria, and we participated in that process. And so is a lot of mobilization among young people, happen before this election. So, and that's between the 2019 and now. And so election is coming up. But I think a major, a dramatic change came. One is that you have a youth party as well, a party that is looking at, I think the YPP, is another one that is looking at young people across the country. But also there was a change. The movement of, Peter Obi from the PDP to Labour Party and all of that, and people are saying, can there be a change? And then you have the likes of Kwankwaso emerging, exciting the moment after the primaries. The primaries that were conducted were so fraudulent. Up to today, nobody was arrested. Even if you tell the security agencies, they will tell you they know that something happened there. But how can you have such a fraud environment and nobody was arrested? I think Nigerians also are seeing the fact that, this is our future that they're toying with. That elections are not only, you are not only buying delegates, you are buying candidates. And the election was dollarized, they're now using dollars and so on and so forth. Yet nobody was arrested. And so this is the environment that we are coming from. And people are looking at issues of unemployment. People are looking at alternatives. There was a social media storm that says, hey, young people, take charge of your future. And again, the trust on INEC. I think that's another major environment. That the BIPAS, the emergence of the 2022 Electoral Act became exciting for people. They're now saying, yes, my vote will count. I remember one of the elections, I asked my friend, where is your PVC? Are you not going to your registration? And she said, Antenna, there is no need to go and vote because my vote has been counted already. So it's not necessary for me to go and vote. And so I think that is another area that we must look at. And so now people believe that their votes will count and they believe that the power is in their PVC. The young people are here. But there is a major concern. That major concern is that of the young people. ASU was on strike when the continuous voter registration was going on. And so many young people were located in a particular place. And now they have gone to school. School is on. There is some people are living very far away. They are schooling far from their own environment. So we must look at the fact that this might be affected by the voting population. But we are happy that the movement from 35, if you look at the statistics, the movement from, those from 35, the young people from the past have moved on. And so there is heavy population between, the ages of 35, to 40, to over 40 years. 35, yeah. Those who have graduated from youthhood, to the next level, you see that there's a huge population. They are much more than the 18 to 35. But they have a lot to do with the election, and we hope that there could be something that either INEC or people can do from the positions, from the locations where people are.
All right, Ms. Obi, the vote buying is still a very serious plague to the electoral system. What are your words? What are your thoughts on these? And what are your words to the security forces on how to stop this or curb this to the barest minimum?
Vote buying is still major. We saw that, witnessed it. I think I was at your station a couple of times, during the election in Osun. We saw vote buying. But the thing is, what we notice is that if the security agencies want to track or want to tackle vote buying, they have the capacity. INEC and the security agencies have the capacity to tone down or to completely stop the issues of vote buying and the polling units. What you see is that sometimes you see a seclusion. Now the electoral law states that you have, within the perimeters of 300 meters, you can, if you see anything going on as such, you can arrest people. But we saw something, even in Osun, we saw that in Ekiti, and we saw it in Osun, though Osun was tighter. But even with that, you see from a distance, you see people trooping in from a particular location. And they are coming in, you are wondering what is going on there. And people will tell you that they are collecting money there. But when you could give the money, sometimes you find out that they allow the people to vote first. But what actually happens is the voting cubicle in many locations were not placed to retain the secrecy of the ballot. Or the person who is casting the ballot. you find out that they place it, you know, the way, by the way, the voting cubicle is an improvement on the past because it actually protects you. If you stand well, it protects you, but it depends on how you place it. So you find somebody looking over the shoulder of the person who is voting, and you find they place it in a way that even the security agencies in some places will be looking at who is voting as if they have become agents of people. But I also witnessed, in Anambra, I witnessed a police officer who was standing and protecting those who were going to vote, and the voting cubicle was placed that, you know, placed in a way that it retains his secrecy, and the police person, you know, the police officer stood in a place where he made sure that nobody got close to that person. And he would tell them, stop, you know, move back. But you have agents that are in an environment that are watching and making sure that they can see what you are voting before. You know, it's also a progression that before now, people will carry phones into the environment and then they will snap the voting. But INEC has also stopped that. The law stops you from doing that. And the guidelines are very, very clear that you do not go with your phone into where you are casting the vote. And so, but now it's left for the citizens. This should not be left to the security agencies alone. That they watch and protect their vote. Tell everybody to stand away, far away from, you know, the person that is voting. Let them go and cast their vote. So the responsibility, the bigger is on the citizens. Even when the security agencies are compromised, the citizens, why are they also compromised? This is about the future. And this is about the future of even the security agencies. Many of them, they have families, they have children, they are fathers to so many children, and that is the future. How many police officers can afford the school fees of a private university? So all of these things are things that people need to look at. The police, the security agencies, all those in the armed forces, they are all citizens and they have children. Their children go to universities just like we do. The family.
Oh, well, we seem to have lost Miss Ene Obi there, who is the convener of Situation Room Nigeria. That's one of the leading NGOs in terms of democratic development and, of course, a good electoral process. Hopefully, we would like to connect to her. But she was making a very good point there. The Nigerian electoral system needs to be sanitized. I'm particularly concerned about the adverse effect of vote buying.
Yeah.
The vote trading, actually. If there are no buyers, there are no sellers. If there are no sellers, there are no buyers. So those are things that need to be looked into, don't you think?
Yes, there are. And then she made a very particular point about the voting cubicle and the secrecy of it. And I'm wondering, is it complacency on the part of INEC or on the part of the security forces? Or what if there are threats to the voters around that place? And that's why they could not, you know, or they will not raise alarm.
Well, these are interesting questions that we may need to put across to some of the security agencies and the Independent National Electoral Commission itself when we have them on the show. Okay, yeah, Ms. Obi is back on the show. We lost you for a moment there.
Okay.
All right, before we let you go, I want to ask you, what issues bar the attack on INEC offices? What issues do you see giving the electoral system a tough time?
I think I'll come back to the issue of security. Securing the environments, you know, and making voters going peacefully, you know, to the polling units. I see, you know, the issues of logistics. We have been working on it. The different civil society organizations under Situation Room. A lot of them have made so much contributions, and working with development partners have been providing support for INEC, but we also hold them accountable to the things that they need to do, to the issues of logistics. We could see that the logistics improved considerably, you know, in Osun, from Ekiti to Osun, the off-cycle elections, We saw that when we were in Anambra, there were issues of insecurity as well that led to the inconclusive election that again led to the by-election that was held in Ihiala. Security issues were there. And so we have a lot of insecurity in a number of places in the country, many parts of the country. The police, like what they did in Osun, the police knew the flashpoints, and they were able to tackle it. To see that in Osun, with all of the things that were, that was in the air, that a very peaceful election held in Osun, because the police knew the security agencies knew the flashpoints. And in Nigeria, the security agencies, they know the flashpoints and should be able to address it. And I think that's a cry of INEC as well. We need to protect INEC staff. INEC staff needs to be protected. It's very, very important. They are Nigerians. They are earning, they are living, they are working in the commission, but that's not a crime. Why are we putting their lives in danger? These are Nigerians. You are Nigerians. You are doing your own bit. If they don't organize the system, how do we hold them responsible? So we need to protect the lives of Nigerians. It's unfortunate that so many, INEC staff have lost their lives, and it's very disheartening. And for you to be organizing that kind of election, and you are hearing that your staff have been killed, it's very depressing, and it's also very frustrating. And so we call on all Nigerians to stand up right for Nigeria, protect the lives of Nigerians. This is a great country that we have, and only us can protect it. And so this is very, very important that we put our hands together. So the issue of insecurity is a major issue, but the issue of securing the votes is also major, because without the security agencies, this will not be done. But we are reminding the security agencies that they are Nigerians and they need to believe in the future of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. A very wonderful charge there from Ms. Obi, who's the convener of Situation Room Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you guys again.
Yes, and for people like me who are going bald, do you have any hair recommendations for us to get back on air? Okay, we'll have that conversation after the show privately.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much. You have a lovely weekend, Miss NLB.
Thank you. You too.
Oh, well.
So everybody around you, all of your team, those I met when we were in Oshobo. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you, ma.
Well, that's where we leave it this morning on the show. Some very strong words there. We need to protect our vote. We need to participate in the process. So you have 7 more days as extended by INEC to get your PVC, so that you don't spend the next 4 years complaining that you voted in voted in the wrong.
So you have to directly or indirectly resist vote trading. Now that's to the political parties and to the candidates and to the electorate as a whole.
All right, that's it on the interview segment of the show this morning. For the Spring Dread segment, we have a special package for you. Thank God it's Friday edition. We'll be back after this break.
The history of guns is traced to China. The Chinese had developed a technology civilization that produced devices identified as guns at about 1000 AD. By the end of the 13th century, the devices had become true guns and described as metal-barreled firearms that fired single projectiles which occluded the barrel. When did gun become an instrument of war? The first battles to be decided by firearms were between French and Spanish soldiers. The early 16th century warfare included Magnano in 1515, Bicocca in 1522, and Pavia in 1525. The wars were fought in Italy. The gun is a weapon of destruction and death, but humanity sees it as a potent instrument of family destruction. People with guns feel safer even if they don't display it. Western Spring Television identifies history of guns as a watershed event in history.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Aminatu, the legendary Queen of Zazzau, is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. The 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of her army and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader, whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history.
Hey!
right, thank God
know
it's
the
Friday.
difference between this and a church.
Of course. Well, thank God it's Friday. It's the TGIF edition of Spring Trends and Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Like I said, it's a special package. The two of us, as they say in local parlance, the two both of us are doing the show this morning. My name is Emmanuel Ujadegele, and of course,
I'm Temitope Adejola. Thanks for joining us. And Emmanuel, thanks for allowing me to join you today.
Yeah, you will pay for it. You think I'm doing this in a charity or something?
I just danced. That's not free.
Well, anyway, let's get down to business. So, straight to business. We begin on the political scene. Yesterday, a former Director General of the Campaign Council, Presidential Campaign Council of the Labour Party, Doyin Okupe, tweeted something and said that he was arrested and detained at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, this morning, 12th January, on his way to UK for medicals. But before we take that story, let's go to Rivers State now. There was some interesting testimony that was shared by a monarch in Rivers State.
Seems you're not the only one in church.
So yeah, we're all in church this morning. So let's hear that testimony.
As at yesterday night, there was a lady on labor. The lady tried, he couldn't put to bed. They had already prepared the theater for her to be operated this morning. But in course of the nurses hearing that you're coming to Ahoda today, they were discussing and say, our deputy governor is coming to Ahoda today. This man likes Ahoda people. At the hearing of your name, the woman shouted and said, the God of Nesonwike, let me deliver safely. The God of Nesonwike, let me deliver safely. Your Excellency, 3 times the woman mentioned your name. She delivered a passing baby boy. Lord, praise the Lord. Your Excellency, that was your name. They came this morning and they say they want to name the boy in your name. I said, no, don't do that until I hear the confirmation of Your Excellency. Your Excellency.
All right, I like
so funny. I don't know which part got me the most. Well, the part where she was shouting the God of Nesonwike, or the part where he said he has to take, confirmation from the. So
would you name your child after a governor?
No. Why?
So in case you are looking for something, just repeat after the God of Nesonwike. If you didn't do, you didn't do. As I want to burn now, I mean to burn my shine. Anyway, away from Rivers State, let's go down to business. Now, I was saying earlier that a former Director General of the PCC, that's the Presidential Campaign Council of the Labour Party, Doyin Okupe, tweeted that he was arrested and detained at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos this morning. That's 12th January, on his way to UK for medicals, years after his passport had been withheld by the Federal High Court, Abuja. He said he just left the EFCC, where senior officers in Lagos and Abuja apologized to him for the error. Occupational hazard, Abi. Now, the EFCC replied immediately and said, press release, interception of Doyin Okupe. The Department of State Services, DSS, today, January 12th, informed the Commission of the interception of Dr. Doyin Okupe, former presidential advisor at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. And they said the next tweet that the service acted on a watch list request issued on July 18, 2016, over 6 years before his recent conviction on money laundering charges by the Federal High Court, Abuja. The commission was in the process of formally lifting the watch list before his interception and will expedite action in this regard. Now, Temitope will be taking us through the reactions on social media.
All right, please listen to voters, politicians replying to Doyin Okupe. What a country where people are detained without reasonable cause. What APC has done to this country. Only a prudent, law-abiding leader like Peter Obi can bring sanity back to all levels of governance in that country.
And the next comment is from June 12th Post. It says, you see what I am talking about. DSS, as presently constituted, is inefficient, unruly, lawless, unjust, poorly trained, and outrightly criminal. They should be disbanded. Please, DSS, the person who made this comment is June 12th Post. It has it is not the what's it called? Not the view of this media organization, please. Next comment.
All right, Ziki replying to Doyin Okupe says, as much as I appreciate your inputs in the struggle to get PO as President Peter Obi, it's also a shame for you to post without any sense of shame that you're among the many leaders in Nigeria that go to the UK for medical tourism. The more reason we must get Peter Obi to Aso Rock to change this.
All right, the last comment before we move on to our next story this morning. Simeon says, Anambra, if you want to criticize, at least spell properly. Anambra is specialized in 1, provision of emergency air ambulance stretcher services within and outside Nigeria. 2, medical travel facilitation to Turkey, India, Egypt, Germany, Spain, UK, and Dubai for any kind of complicated medical treatment. She will arrest first child underneath said, but sir, why visit the UK for medicals? You could have used one of the hospitals built by Mr. Obi in Anambra. They are of same or better quality. They are cheaper too. Well, now still talking about Peter Obi. Yesterday, like Peter Obi, like Peter Obi, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Enugu State 2 days ago for campaign, and yesterday Peter Obi was there. I'd like to show you a video of what happened there.
Nefertiti says Enugu State is completely shut down. The Sorosuke decided to arrest Peter Obi and the Labour Party. I'm so emotional right now. My children must hear about this. All right, Ashiwaji K. When is Obi and Labour Party going to the north for campaign? The south is already Obi's stronghold, so more effort, time and strategy should be used for the north. Are we campaigning for only southern votes? We know he is loved in the south, but this inactivity in the north is worrisome. Now, Obi's first son, let at Adamu Garba, at FKMO, and at Real FFK to come and see Organic Love from the same Enugu Tinubu went and shared 5K for rally attendance. Shame. Thank you at Peter Obi for putting smiles on our faces.
And the next comment on that story is from Son of Man. It says, Enugu is more obedient than we know, and it's a fact many people don't know about. The only work I did when I got during Xmas was to create awareness in my hometown on LP logo, because I noticed many of our old people don't even know LP logo that much. All of them are ready to vote. Now to our last story for today. Kasala have boxed in somewhere in Nigeria. In Cross River State, as you will soon see shortly on your screen, the police arrested a 17-year-old boy for impregnating 10 ladies. Now, before you start shouting "ha" like Biodun and Baba, let me tell you the backstory. Now, that boy was arrested alongside some other persons for running a baby factory. So it wasn't because he was sleeping with women and getting them pregnant. Now let's see what people are saying about that on social media. Mind you, we'll be closing with that video we opened with, so get your dancing shoes ready. Temitope, take us through the tweets.
All right. Asumanin says, if anything, the ladies need to be arrested for sleeping with an underage male.
Fiki Rap says, when did getting ladies pregnant become a crime? Miss Dynamite says, legend, did you rape them? We must ask Bemileke, one of our producers, that question. He seems to be an expert in that department. And of course, Sheyi Omotayo, one of the strong men in that. But let's go to the next comment. That's from Taddy Boy from Volta. What's he saying, Timmy Dopper?
Why was he arrested? Did he force any of them? Did he drug them? Why exactly was he arrested?
Well, we just told you why he was arrested. They were arrested because apparently they were running some sort of baby factory, and that's why the police nabbed them. So Fogbemi 3 says, the headline doesn't make sense to me. Why police not arrest the ladies for sleeping with underage? That's that story. Now the next comment, which happens to be last comment, is from Toxic Pump.
Yeah, the boy is a minor. Check the age of the women. Anyone way past 18 years, now them suppose arrest. Nothing criminal about impregnating 10 women.
Of course, nothing criminal about impregnating 10 women. Well, like I said, Bemileke would know about that. Sheyi Omotayo, Biodun Baba, John Ilemobayo would know about
the last would be Emmanuel.
They would know. What, so
the last would be you.
The last would be who?
You. Emmanuel Chatgilly.
But I'm innocent of all crimes, of all allegations until proven guilty. But these persons I've mentioned are guilty before even proven innocent. I have proof of their guilt. Well, that's where we'll leave it on the show this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of TGIF. I am Emmanuel Ujadigele. You can follow me on Twitter at EM Ujadigele.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Temitope Ajijola Oluwaola.
Now let's take you back to church and dance our way out of today's show.
As at yesterday night.
Látàná tó ń fi